Good evening. It is Tuesday, December 6th, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show Post, live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions, positions on the hottest topics in sports this evening. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined this evening by two of my partners in crime, and we may get a third one in. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening?
What's up, Big Reg? What's up, Professor J? Hey, Jalen.
We got the professor and Jalen in the building. What's going on, Professor? How you feeling, my brother?
Hey, what's up, brothers? I gotta correct you a little bit, Big Red. You got 2.5 of your partners in crime on every night. So let's praise the Lord and let's get into some sports. What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
All right, let's do it. This evening, we're gonna give you our quick hits. We're gonna talk a lot of football. We're gonna talk NCAA College Football Conference Championship Week, and then we gotta get to the NFL Week 13. We're going to finish you up with our final post of the evening. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. Fellas, the World Cup is keeping on. Our U.S. team, they fought gallantly, but Saturday they lost to a more veteran team, lost to the Netherlands 3-1. But I think it was a great run for the second youngest team in the tournament. And considering we didn't even make the World Cup 4 years ago, for them to get out the first round and get to the knockout round was a big feat to me. What y'all think?
So, in my opinion, my only concern was, and I believe I said this last week, was about the scoring as well as the personnel. I don't know if we utilized our bench like we could have to produce more points. And we know 1 point, one goal is not enough if you want to win the cup. And again, that's what hurt them, lack of scoring.
Yeah, you said it well, Big Reg. I just like, and same to you, J3. I just like the fact that, yeah, 4 years ago, we weren't even in the dance. You know, I was disappointed at their showing in the first match, but then I thought they showed a little bit of grit and fight. But to your point, we didn't pull out our whole arsenal, but they're young. So the veterans like Alexi Lalas and Donovan, you know, they were emotional after the loss, but they made some good points. You know, being young, learning experience, these guys will be around for the long haul. And I think that's a good point in the right direction for the USA men's team.
Yeah, I think the goal for the coaching staff, because I think the coaching staff was a direct result of why our scoring was limited. I think that goal was to prove that these young boys could be on the field and defensively hold up against some of the best teams in the world. So their focus was to be on defensively sound. Now, if they keep that defensively soundness and add some scoring by the next World Cup, they're going to be a problem to deal with. But as we said, they lost, they move on. The World Cup is to the final 8. The final 8 includes the defending champion, France, who looks real good, Argentina with Lionel Messi, Brazil with Neymar, Portugal. Portugal had a big win, but they had some issues today. Their biggest star got put on a bench and didn't get in till late in the game. Ronaldo has been running out his welcome all around the world. He's been basically kicked out of 3 clubs for his regular season duty, and now Portugal is even tired of dealing with him. So the rumor is he's supposed to be going to Saudi Arabia for a huge bag, something crazy like $100 to $200 million a year to go play for them. Go take the money and run and just go away, because people don't want to deal with you. England's still in it, Morocco's still in it, and Croatia. That was just the final 8. And like Professor said, we played a defensive game with England and kept them to 0-0. England's in the final 8. So again, they keep that defensive mindset and improve the offense. They can make a big run in 2026. And that World Cup is in North America, Canada, US, and Mexico. So I think that's what they're pushing forward. In boxing news, Juan Francisco Estrada defeated Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez by majority decision, with one judge ruling it a tie, and the other two had it 115, 113, 116, 12. So another close fight. These guys have been in it with each other for 36 rounds, and it's still too close to call as far as who's the better fighter. Technically, Estrada's up 2-1, but one of his victories was a controversial split decision win that he got that a lot of people think Chocolatito won. So there's a possibility we could see this fight round 4. I told you the Tyson Fury fight wasn't going to be worth watching unless you're just a Tyson Fury fan, and he easily dismissed his challenger, Derek Chisora, for the 3rd time with the 10th round TKO. But this Saturday, fellas, there are 3 separate title fight cards for the fight fans out there that listen. The first one that you can catch is the Josh Warrington versus Luis Alberto Lopez for Warrington's IBF featherweight title. That's coming from England on DAZN, so that's going to be Saturday afternoon. Then later in the night, you've got a loaded card coming from New York City from Madison Square Garden with headlined by Teofimo Lopez in his second fight at 140 pounds. He takes on Sander Martin. But they got 3 other fights with young, up-and-coming, title-contending type fighters that are going to be on that card. That's going to be packed. And then my favorite fighter to watch, Terrence Bud Crawford, defends his WBL welterweight championship against David Adesanya on a pay-per-view at 10 p.m. So you got some good fights coming up. And these going to be the last big fights until we go into 2023. Y'all, either y'all going to be able to check out any of them or any of them catch your dander, want to, see what happens?
Yeah, maybe if I sneak over to your house.
Hey, the door's open, bro. Just let me know you're on your way. I'll be here. I will be here. For you people who like the other combat sport, UFC 282, the last major card of 2022 for UFC, has their pay-per-view event also Saturday night. This card kind of fell apart a little bit, but it is going to be headlined by Jan Blachowicz, who's a former champion, against Magomedov Ankalaev for the vacated light heavyweight title. This Magomedov is another one of those guys that's coming over that if they get a hold of you, cancel Christmas, because it's chances are they're not going to let you go unless the end of the round ends or you tap out. So, And lastly, for the baseball fans out there, Major League Winter Meetings started this week. There already been some big signings. The biggest one, former Dodgers shortstop signed with the Phillies, Trey Turner, who also is a former national, won a national title. So he came back toward the East Coast after going out to the Dodgers, signed an 11-year, $300 million deal to join Bryce Harper, one of his buddies.
Wow.
That's right.
The Mets lost their pitcher, Jacob deGrom, to the Texas Rangers. He signed a crazy 5-year, $185 million deal to sign with the Rangers. So what do the Mets do? They signed pitcher Justin Verlander, who's going to turn 40. So they only gave him a 2-year deal, but it's 2 years, $86.66 million. He's making $43.33 million a year. Him and Schwarzer have the same contract. So highest per annual contract in Major League Baseball history. Astros signed first baseman Jose Abreu to a 3-year, $58.5 million year. The New York Yankees re-signed first baseman Anthony Rizzo to a 3-year, $51 million deal. The Dodgers and pitcher Clayton Kershaw re-signed for 1 year, $70 million, which seems like cheap, but I think he just didn't want to leave LA, so he took a friendly deal. So But of course, the biggest ones that we are looking for to come is to see what's going to happen with Aaron Judge. He's the biggest name on there. And there are a few other big people out there to sign, but that's what's going on. We'll keep you up to date. All right, fellas, we got to talk about college football. There was 2 huge news stories besides the games this week in college football. The first one started late Wednesday and was officially announced Thursday. The college presidents and chancellors have officially approved an expansion of the college football playoff system from 4 teams to 12 teams. It starts in the 24-25 season. So we've got this college football playoffs and one more for 23-24, and then it goes to the Big 12 team.
About time.
That's right. That's what I say, J3.
About time.
Both of y'all think that's a good move for college football?
Oh, yeah.
Not just a money grab?
Absolutely. I mean, you got to realize, look at how many different conferences there are. And you're going to tell me that you're only limited to 4 teams that can actually compete for a championship? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. And think about it. Everybody's been on upset alert this year, but think about where Alabama is right now. Had they been allowed back into a playoff mix, it's possible that they could run the table and win it all, even with 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know I'm one of the biggest Alabama fans out there. Definitely the biggest one on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Alabama is one of the best 4 teams currently left in the college football this year. But I don't think they belonged in the playoffs this year. And they did it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just me. I guess my next question is, do you legitimately think more than 4 teams could win a national championship in any given year? Or if it's more than 4, how many really is it? Because I think at the max, you might have 5, maybe 6 if you're pushing it. So these other 6 teams are just money grabbing and to appease some of the other lower conferences.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 max. And yeah, I think Alabama. I think you can make an argument that Tennessee could still run the table. And then people are thinking that TCU is still legit. So, I mean, I would include all of them, to be able to compete for a title this year. So I think opening up to 12 teams, I mean, it didn't have to be 12. It could at least been 8, I think, 6 to 8, and that would have sufficed. But 12 really gives no excuse for anybody to say that the best teams across the country weren't in there. You got the Power 5s, you got the mid-majors. Like, everybody can now have some representation, and then that'll just shut everybody up in that mix.
I got you.
Because Notre Dame could slide up in that 12. I'm always be good with that, as an independent. So yeah, they could make some noise.
I feel you. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the difference between them doing a 4-team playoff and this 12-team playoff is $450 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of money from TV and streaming contracts. So that's why they push to do it. So it's done. So we get to enjoy it starting 24-25. And then you'll have teams 13, 14, and 15 complaining that they should have been in it. But we know how that goes. The second biggest story, and I got really, really, really strong opinion on this story, but I'm going to let y'all give me y'all's first, is Coach Deion Sanders leaves Jackson State to his second SWAC title in a row, goes undefeated this year, and after the game, then announces that he's accepted the job to become the next head coach at the University of Colorado, and that he's going to be bringing most of his staff with him and most of his top players, including his sons, and his top recruits that he had scheduled to come into Jackson State. Now, this is an historic hire, folks. Coach Prime will be the first HBCU coach ever hired to coach a FBS school, football bowl school. First ever. And he did it in reality 2.5 years. Because the first season was the COVID season when only played 6 or 7 games. And he didn't come till like January. So it's a huge move. But my question to you guys is, before I get to that, another thing that Coach Prime did was, even though he's accepted this job to Colorado, has already had the press conference, he told the people of Colorado, my job's not finished. So he's going to coach Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl, which is December 17th, which is the unofficial HBCU National Black Championship, because that's the game they lost last year. And he says we have unfinished business. And his players are going to play in that game that have already agreed to transfer. So he's doing everything he can to fulfill his promise to Jackson State. So my first question is, what are your thoughts about Deion moving from Jackson State to taking the Colorado job? And then we're going to get into that more intricate, layered conversation of what do you think about this backlash that he's receiving, especially from certain segments of the Black community. So 2 parts. Give to me in 2 parts.
So I'm just going to start off with, first of all, I'm going to applaud Deion for what he's accomplished since he's been at Jackson State, right? He has took a program that went from 1-11 to 11-0, I believe. Deion has instilled in those young men discipline. He's instilled in those young men a sense of worth. And he's also instilled in them young men that you can never stop but to continue to strive to be better. What he's done is set the blueprint for coaches that are going to follow in his footsteps to always to strive to do more. Deion Sanders has stepped up to the plate to show you that you don't have limitations on just being a player, but you can blossom out to be a phenomenal coach and lead others to know that they can perform at the next level.
Good, yeah, that's well said. Yeah, you know, I'm a call out people that have trashed Deion's character for the things that he's done, and the reason why I'm calling him out is because, based off of what J3 just said and what we talked about offline, this man took a job out of the doldrums, you know, an HBCU school that hasn't known, you know, prominence in many moons. And he accepted the job when many people thought that he was fail at even doing this. And in 2.5 years, he turned the program around. He brought sponsorships. He brought the money in. He brought the TV. He brought the cachet. He brought the notoriety. And he proved that he could coach. And I told you guys, had he done the same thing for Morehouse College, I'll be jumping and praising off the top of the highest mountain because I know where our football program has been, right? And for a Hall of Fame player to come in and to cut his teeth on an HBCU and put them on a map, of course he's done a lot to move the needle. Now it's up to the rest of the coaches or who comes after him to keep pushing that envelope forward. This is only the beginning, but people don't see it that way. And for a man to honor his contract, Brian Kelly, and stay with his team through their bowl game or through their championship game to make sure that they know that he is fulfilling his full commitment, I appreciate that. And people can't get mad. The other schools taking advantage of the portal. The other schools taking advantage of NIL. So why can't Deion also take advantage of the same things that are put out there to quote unquote level the playing field? Now, I will tell you this. I think Colorado is a dumpster fire, and I'm not sure if he can turn that around. I've been on the record to say that. I thought he should have waited for either Florida State or Texas A&M or even Texas, because I think all of those jobs will be open very soon. So I applaud him for the efforts that he has put forward to put together. But people knew his personality. You knew him when he was on television. You knew when he was a player. You didn't think he was going to bring the same personality to coaching at Jackson State. So stop hating on the man because he did an actually great job at that when many people thought that he could.
Yeah, let's talk about the Colorado job, because I was on record with you, Professor J, and said that Colorado's a dumpster fire. They've been a dumpster fire for almost 2 decades now. But now I understand why Coach Prime went to Colorado. They are totally revamping how they do things at the university to get him in there. So he's getting a measure of control similar to what he had at Jackson State at Colorado. That is something he wouldn't be able to get necessarily going to a Texas A&M, a Florida State, where the big boosters are in major control. University of Colorado is changing their transfer admission process because they don't have a general studies program. So it was hard for especially students to transfer into Colorado and get all their credits accepted. So they literally changed that. They added an NIL collective and have started to put that together to raise money so students would get the NIL money. Deion has full autonomy on his coaching staff and his program. Deion is the highest paid coach that they've ever had at the University of Colorado. And for you people to say why Deion left Jackson State and how bad it is, let me give y'all some brunt numbers.
Break it down, partner. Break it down.
Deion Sanders was getting paid $300,000 a year at Jackson State. That's a lot of money for most of us. Strength and conditioning coordinators at Power 5 schools make more than Deion was making as a head coach. These are people who aren't coaching. These people that coach the players to lift weights and train them to get their bodies in shape. Some of them make almost $1 million a year. Not only was he only making $300,000, his first year at Jackson State, that half year that I talked about earlier, where they only played six games, he donated half of his salary, so $150,000 of his salary, to Jackson State so they could complete the football facility for the locker rooms and the coaches. So he only made $150,000 the first year, $600,000 these last 2 years, where he's won the championship, where he increased attendance at the not only Jackson State, every arena they went to this year, they increased their attendance by a minimum of 15 to 20,000 people. That's money directly into the pockets of those universities, wherever they went. His buyout clause at Jackson State, he has to give $300,000 of that $600,000 that he made over the last 2 years back to them. J3 mentioned he brought in advertising. He brought in sponsorships. They have deals for years with that university. So he's brought in millions of dollars to Jackson State, and people are hating on Deion because he wants to, not only for his sake, his coaches. If Deion was making $300,000, how much were his assistant coaches making? Now he has a $5 million budget for his assistant coaches per year. And he went from $300,000 to $5.5 million his first year, with $200,000 bumps each year over the first 4 years. Come on, folks. Tell me which one of y'all are not going to take not 100% jump in your salary, 15-time increase in your salary to do the same job with more resources, and the people you work with can get paid more. So yeah, let's dig into this. This backlash that he's getting. People calling him a sellout. He really didn't care about the HBCUs. Here's another statistic for you folks. The average college football coach stays at his program for 3.8 years. Deion was at his program for 3 years. So he was just a year short of what the average is. They say he wasn't real swag. He's going to do more damage to HBCUs with his leaving. No. I read a very, very good article in Forbes, of all places, about his move. Deion has put the map together on what other HBCUs need to do to go out and try to recruit former Black athletes to come back to HBCUs to coach who may want to coach but aren't getting the opportunities and don't want to do the grunt work of being a grad assistant or somewhere else and doing all this stuff at these primarily white institutions that will take them years and years and years to build up their cachet and actually come to an HBCU where they'll take less because they've already made money. They know they're giving back to their community and bring other people with them. Use the blueprint that he put out there. Get some of these players. Eddie George was the second one to come. You got a bunch of coaches who are coaching high school football right now just because they love the game. Former players. Get them to the HBCUs. They'll be able to recruit similar to Deion. Deion is his own thing, so nobody's going to do it like Deion. But they can do the same thing. You've got the blueprint. He put it out there. He's got ESPN on board to broadcast HBCU games. Even if it's on ESPN3. They weren't even on that before. So, in my opinion, everybody's hating on Deion. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. He's done more for HBCU athletics in his 2.5 seasons there than most people have done their whole career at an HBCU. And he's brought a spotlight to get more of these HBCU players opportunities to possibly make it to the next level of the NFL. And that he's also shown that we have pride in our communities and we support our communities when we put a good product out there, and that we'll sell out 40, 50,000 seat arenas. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done.
Nah, you on it. That's good stuff.
Right. This one needs to be heard.
So, yeah, everybody on Deion, y'all need to stop. And anybody say they're going to take a 15-time increase in salary and have their boys and their friends all get raises of 300 to 400% of their current salaries minimum, and you're not going to take the job, stop.
Yeah, in the narrative that he uses as a stepping stone. Okay, pick any coach at any school that's below where they eventually go. It's all a stepping stone.
Yeah. And he's already signed, it's not until the 2025 class, but one of the top 25 players, a cornerback, already to Colorado. And trust me, he's going to have a bunch of players coming from the transfer portal who want to be a part of that atmosphere. Y'all see how much fun his students are having?
Mm-hmm.
His players? And if you think that it's all show, please watch some of the video of Deion when he's just talking to his players of what he expects, what they have to do. Some of the stuff. All of his players got to sit in the front row. And if they're not in the front row, he's telling their teachers to let them know. All of them have tutors to help them with their grades. Deion graduated. He was only there for 2.5 years. Deion graduated 90% of the players who was eligible to graduate. Come on now.
Deion is a prime example of a leader compared to a manager. If you don't know what the difference is, just look at Deion.
Good point. Good point. All right. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. Let's go to the football, fellas. Number 1, Georgia did what it does. I mean, they dominated LSU 50-30 in the SEC title game. It wasn't even that close. It was 35-10 by the second quarter. Game was over. They just coasted from there. But I do want to point out, their starting quarterback, Stetson Bennett, is 8 months older than Lamar Jackson. Yeah, y'all got that. He's 8 years older than Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. He's 25 years old. So one of my good friends said, I ain't watch a lot of college football, but this quarterback for Georgia just looks so poised. And all I say, should he 24, and I was off. He 25. So that is an advantage. That man been in college for 7 years.
You can't be mad at him for working the system. He did what he was supposed to do.
Absolutely. And you know what's going to happen?
And he a champion.
Right.
And probably going to win his second championship. And he probably going to get a late round draft choice and end up on somebody's practice squad for years and become a backup quarterback and make millions of dollars for the next 10 years in the NFL.
Hey, he receiving a paycheck and staying healthy. Sounds like a good combination to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, Michigan. I said earlier a few weeks ago that I thought they were the second best team in the country. They easily beat Purdue. Michigan just plays a brand of football that most teams can't deal with. They are physical, tough. And now that they actually have a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, who can throw a little bit with their running game, teams can't deal with that. So, I mean, Michigan's going to be a tough out in the college football playoffs. I think they're Georgia's number 1 contender to win this title in 2022.
Michigan reminds me of how Penn State used to be years back.
That's a good parallel, J3. That's a good parallel. They remind me of an SEC team 7, 8 years ago where they play hard-nosed defense and they run the ball and they pass when they have to.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to the teams that kind of coughed it up a little bit. Teams that had a chance to easily wrap up their place in the college football playoffs and got a little tight.
Are you talking about TCU?
Yeah, TCU. Trailing, they trailed in more than half of their games this year and come back. Well, that slipper didn't fit this time. They lost to number 10 Kansas State 31-28 in overtime, and they should have lost in regulation because there was a bad call against Kansas State late in that game that allowed TCU to score to force the overtime. But, I mean, TCU a good Big 12 team. And I just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. They're a Big 12 team. But because they were undefeated and because they lost in their conference championship, they stayed at the number 3 position for the college football playoffs. So they will be in the college football playoffs. And they'll be the sacrificial lamb for the Michigan because I see no way they match up against Michigan's physicality. Yeah, and they can't throw the ball against their defense, and they expect their quarterback to be their primary rusher. Yeah, that doesn't add up real well. Then number 4, USC. I was watching this game live.
Choke.
After the first, I don't know if it was a choke, J3.
Choke.
Their best player pulled his hamstring. Quarterback Caleb Williams, DC boy, DC native. He pulled his hamstring early in the second quarter on a scramble that he went down the sideline for like 40 yards. He probably should only did it 30. He might not have pulled his hamstring. But once he pulled that hamstring, he continued to play, but he was never the same. And it went from a 17-3 lead to Utah scoring the next 24 straight points. And they end up outscoring USC 30-7 in the second half. And once Caleb Williams couldn't run anymore, that was a whole different football game. So the loss eliminated USC from the Pac-12 and actually all of the Pac-12 from college football consideration. But considering that USC was 4-8 last year and ended up the season at number 6 in the country with a brand new coaching staff where half of their people on their roster are transferred in this year, that was a hell of a season. So the lucky team of the week was Ohio State. They get to sit at home move up from number 5 to number 4 and get into the college football playoffs. So thanks to TCU and USC both losing. Ohio State got in over Alabama. And as I stated earlier, while Ohio State got boat raced by Michigan in Ohio State, the last game of the season, there's nothing Alabama can hang their hat on and say, we had great wins. They just barely beat Texas, and Texas starting quarterback got hurt in that game. When you lose 2 games, be it only by 4 points, and both of them at the end of the game, or 4 points combined, both at the end of the game, you still lost those games, especially the LSU one. The LSU one was a bad loss. So I respect the Final Four with best team in the country, Georgia, second best team in the country, Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State. The committee made it easy. They didn't want Ohio State to be number 3 because they didn't want them to match up with Michigan again and then have Michigan boat race them again. So they're going to let Georgia do that. And they can say, well, Georgia's the best team in the country. It's no big deal. And then, but that'll soften up Georgia a little bit for, I think, Michigan, because they're 2 different types of offenses that they got to deal with in a short amount of time. But I still think Georgia wins another national championship. What's your thoughts, J3?
Well, let me just say this. I still believe in the Buckeyes. And I think they have an opportunity of beating Georgia. So I'm not going to say that that's going to be an easy win for them. As far as Michigan and TCU goes, I definitely see Michigan giving it to them. But if it's Michigan and Ohio State in the championship, I still got the Buckeyes. I mean, I know Michigan going hard, but I still think they got a chance.
Michigan.
Yeah, I know you and Sense would love to see Michigan. They got a shot. I'm not saying it's a shot. I think the college football committee did everything they could do to help Michigan out. Like I said, giving them Ohio State, because Georgia should have got TCU, and that'd have been easy, game over, second quarter, and they can coast the rest of the game. So playing Ohio State, they're gonna have to show up and play, and they're gonna have to play hard. And just like Alabama had players get injured in the semifinals last year, you never know. Somebody could get injured. I hope that doesn't happen. But just to go from a high octane offense to a power football team the following week is tough for them. So the Heisman Trophy ceremony will be this Saturday. 2 things happen this Saturday. First, we got to take our hats off and give honor to the annual Army-Navy game this Saturday, 3 p.m. It's going to be at CBS. The young men that play in this game sacrifice to support and protect our country, but they still enjoy football. So I watch this game every year and make it a point to see and support these young men. And then later on in the night, you got the Heisman Trophy winner, which the ceremony's become a QB ceremony. Who's the best QB? 4 finalists: a Georgia quarterback, 25-year-old Stetson Bennett, TCU quarterback Max Duggan, Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud, and the most likely winner, USC quarterback Caleb Williams. If you look at the stats, Caleb Williams beats all of these dudes in stats. He's got more touchdowns, more yards, at least as good a percentage and all that. And considering he went to a new team that's got more transfers than anything else and got them to where they got to, I think he should win the Heisman Trophy.
I get all that, Big Reg, but who you really think it's going to go to?
No, I think it's going to go to Caleb Williams.
Oh, you actually honestly think it's going to go to him?
I think it's going to go to Caleb Williams.
You know,
so anyway, Stetson Bennett sneaks that joint?
Right.
Nah.
Because of being the Georgia's quarterback?
Everybody knows Georgia's defense stirs that drink for that team.
Okay.
Even this year, even with all the players they lost, Georgia's defense is the one that makes that team go. And Stetson Bennett had some just mediocre games this year, and Georgia still won. Caleb Williams had to carry his team because USC's defense, quite honestly, isn't that good. We know Lincoln Riley has never been able to put together good defenses, even when he was at Oklahoma. So he carried that team offensively.
So you think Stroud's loss to Michigan took him out of the running?
The way they lost, yep.
Okay.
I still think he'll be second. I think it'll be Williams, Stroud, Duggan, Bennett.
Time will tell what happens.
Yeah, we will see Saturday night. So let's hit this NFL news before we get up out of here. Every couple of weeks or so, I've been giving you guys my tiers on what I think, are the best teams in the NFL based on how they've been playing. I had to make some adjustment to my NFL tiers. The NFL elite teams, for the 2 or 3 times I've talked about it, it's only been 2 teams, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. I had to modify that. It's now 3 teams.
Oh, and I know who you're going to say. I already know it.
It's still the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC, the only NFC team. And the AFC team now has 2 teams, Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep. Go ahead and talk about the 4th one.
Those are the only elite teams I see in the NFL. The Super Bowl contenders, teams that can still win the Super Bowl, they're just not quite elite. The NFC adds 2 more teams, the Minnesota Vikings and Dallas Cowboys. I give them their props and their respect. And I think the AFC adds 2 teams, the Buffalo Bills and Miami. Yep. So I think there's only 7 teams legitimately that I think can win the Super Bowl this year. 49ers might have been in that list until they lost their second starting quarterback of the season. So they went from Super Bowl contenders, which I had them in the last list. Now they're just a playoff team along with the Bucs and the Seahawks. All 3 of those teams are going to make the playoffs in the NFC. And I think it's going to come down to whoever wins the New York Giants and the Washington game, winning Week 15. Whoever wins that game is going to have the inside track to get the 7th seed. And I think those are the only teams that can get into the playoffs in the NFC. Thoughts?
So Dallas troubles me because it's all this talk about Odell Beckham Jr., the way they just in the second half just dismantled the Colts. And it just pains me to see the Cowboys to be in contention for a Super Bowl. But I just believe that we talked about choking early on. I think they're the biggest choke artists of the group that you labeled as being Super Bowl. No, seriously, as Super Bowl contenders, because I think when the bright lights on, whether they at home or away, that they just can't get it done in a playoff scenario or a situation. So I think they should enjoy their drinks now, because when it comes down to it, they'll get in the playoffs and they'll lay an egg like they always do. But OBJ scares me, because if he comes back and plays like he did in the Super Bowl, being that dog, oh man, I don't even want to envision it. I hope he goes to the Giants.
Well, first of all, Professor J, you got to realize, even if he does get on the field, who's going to get him the ball?
Wow, shots fired.
Hey, Jay.
Shots fired.
Just posing a question.
Yeah. Supposedly, the Dallas has concerns about OBJ's physical that they took to yesterday and that they've reviewed overnight. So I don't think he's going to sign with Dallas.
I hope he does.
The stuff I'm hearing from the grapevine is I don't think OBJ is going to sign with anybody. If he does sign with anybody, I don't expect him to play this year.
I think he's going to sign with Buffalo if he does.
Wow.
I don't think he's going back to the little people.
Yeah, I think he went to see the Giants out of respect. So, yeah. And then the AFC Super Bowl contenders are the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, along with Cincinnati and the Chiefs. I think those are the 4 legitimate teams. The Ravens used to be in that segment, but, I mean, the Ravens got problems. I think what they've done for Lamar's chances of progressing as a elite NFL quarterback is close to criminal. They tried to draft players, but they've drafted the wrong players. The players haven't got hurt, and they've never really developed that offense to incorporate a wide receiver properly. And I think over the next week or two, depending on how many games Lamar misses with his knee injury, just like last year, you saw how bad their offense was when they went 1-5 to end the season. I think you're going to see how really bad this offense is, and what Lamar does to win these games in this terrible offense is amazing.
So you gonna give Huntley no credit at all with his skill set? I think he can continue the win percentage that they have. I mean, he's using the same weapons that Lamar has, and I think he's just as good as Lamar.
He didn't do it last year,
J3,
so why are you gonna do it this year?
J3, the score was 10-9.
Progression.
That was a putrid game to watch. Oh my gosh, he had to score a last moment touchdown. That was really what he does best, rushing the ball. But he's no Lamar Jackson. He don't throw like him. I mean, he tries to run like him, but I don't think that offense is any good. Outside of Andrews, man, they really don't have nothing that stir that coffee, man. I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah. And to say he's just as good as Lamar, I think is a slap in the face to Lamar. Lamar got a unanimous MVP, bro.
Okay.
Lamar's like 45-16.
Okay. That's all I'm saying is okay. If they turn it around and they end up making the playoffs, I want to hear the same commentary in a few more weeks.
Let me look at their schedule and I'll get back to you. Schedule.
Nah, they got an easy schedule, and I still don't think it's gonna matter because their offense is trash, and I think we'll see how trash their offense is.
BJ, I agree with you.
Yep, he sure did.
Now, the last two playoff spots in the AFC are going to come down to the Chargers and the Raiders when they play, and the Patriots and the Giants when they play. But none of them teams going to win anything.
Mm-mm.
The biggest news, again, I mentioned it a little earlier, 49ers QB Jimmy Garoppolo breaks his ankle or foot in the first half. I mean, you talk about a dude that's got bad luck, can't get through a season. Now you understand why they drafted Trey Lance and was trying to get rid of this dude.
Mm-hmm.
They like him. The teammates love him, but he can't finish the season.
Sounds like somebody the Commanders picked up, doesn't it?
Apparently, none of their quarterbacks can finish a season. Purdy better be.
Yeah, Purdy better be on the lookout because Mr. Irrelevant, which means the last player drafted in the NFL draft, 7th round, very last player, quarterback Brock Purdy of Iowa State is now the starting quarterback for the 49ers and be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
I hate to do this, fellas. Don't kick me off the show. But what about Cam Newton?
Nah, they've already brought in their backup. They signed Mr.
Baker.
Break glass when you need it.
I did see that deceived it. Oh yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Josh Johnson.
Yeah, Josh Johnson. Yeah, Mayfield went to
the Lakers. I mean the Rams.
Yeah, he went to the Rams.
Yeah, 49ers ain't bringing nobody who's not going to follow the script. One thing, Josh Purdy is a decent player. He was all Big 12 conference 3 times. His last 2 years. Exactly. His last 2 years, he was a first team all Big 12 as a quarterback. And then I think his sophomore year, he was second team. So the dude can play the position a little bit. And it's not, we all know the 49ers, or better yet, Kyle Shanahan's offense isn't quarterback dependent. Run our plays the way we want to, hand the ball off, quick short passes to our weapons. Mm-hmm. And with them adding Christian McCaffrey, that's going to make that job a lot easier. So they still going to be scary.
If they stay healthy.
Yeah, if they lose another quarterback, then. And we talked earlier, Lamar Jackson has they call it a sprained PCL, which means he got a partially torn PCL in his knee. So he's week to week. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford was ruled out for the remainder of the season due to a neck injury. He's not going to play anymore. The other big one, rookie running back Kenneth Walker, the Seattle Seahawks, sprained his foot, and they say it's a weird injury, so he may not be able to get back for the rest of the year. Glad you jumped on, Sense. We get ready to talk this NFL football. There are 3 big games this week that I think we need to hit on. A game that hardly nobody's talking about in the main media, but was most impressive to me. The Eagles dominated the Titans, 35-10. Titans division leading team. Mm-hmm. And what they did is they took away the Eagles running game. And all Jalen Hurts did was drop 380 yards on the 3 TDs.
Didn't matter. And in the process, he's shutting up everybody that keep claiming that he can't pass that ball. And A.J. Brown was a straight monster again against his former team.
Yeah, that was definitely his get-back game. He showed out 8 catches. Sure. And what was good is the Eagles let him show out. I think they threw him the ball 12 times. He had 8 catches, 119 yards, 2 TDs. So,
yeah, I'm not even surprised. I knew they were going to go in and dominate against the Titans. It was definitely a get-back game. They had a lot to prove. So, yeah. The NFC East is looking quite competitive this year, if I do say so myself.
Quite formidable. I will agree.
It's crazy. They said, I don't think it's ever happened that all 4 teams from one division got into the playoffs.
Yeah, because it was only available when they expanded it to 7.
Yeah.
That could happen. So there is still a shot, but I think it would take Seattle to fall apart for that to happen.
You hear that, BJ?
Geno playing like he's trying to make a name for himself. So.
Geno playing for a 3 to 5 year contract where he can get paid $30 million a year and be a inexpensive starting quarterback.
Not to mention comeback player of the year.
Absolutely.
Look, the way he's throwing that ball, I mean, he's not forcing it at all. He's looking at all options before he delivers a pass to his receivers. He's doing work this year. He's definitely
playing
doing
smart.
Work.
Definitely playing smart.
We're not gonna give comeback player of the year to Deshaun Watson.
You had to play a whole season to win comeback player of the year.
There you go with the jokes. But talk about a quarterback that looked calm and cool and just delivering the ball. Yo, Joe Burrow.
Yeah, cool Joe.
He done got over that appendectomy that he had to have right before preseason started. The offensive line that they basically bought, re-engineered with 4 new starters is finally coming together. And something that people don't talk about, the Cincinnati Bengals defense, you can score them on the first half most of the time. But once they figure out what you're trying to do to them, they either over slow you down completely or shut you out in the second half. They are a problem. And they beat the Chiefs for the 3rd time in a calendar year.
Man, I love it. Love it. Love it.
So the Chiefs are still good. But Cincy is coming now. And they still don't have their best running back. Mixon is still in concussion protocol. So they're going to add a running back to it. And they just got their top wide receiver back this game, and he wasn't 100%. So imagine when they're 100%.
Bengals are just showing that they're not scared of the Chiefs, plain and simple. And they taking it to them every game.
Yeah. And this is the time of year I love when things start getting like super competitive and it's like, vying for that spot. So come on.
Mahomes was pissed. This is the first time he lost in a number of years in November and December.
Yeah. And it's like, it ain't what he doing because he had a decent game.
Yeah,
it's like, y'all got to show up. Right. And his defense got to stop somebody. Yeah.
But that's always been their problem, though. Truth be told, if you pay attention to the games that they've won, it's always the defense that's giving up more points than the offense are producing.
Yeah,
I agree.
Then we say this is going to be the new Manning and Brady, Mahomes and Burrow.
Still
Absolutely.
too early, but that's what it's trending toward.
Don't leave out Josh Allen.
Speaking of Josh Allen, the Bills beat the Patriots 24-10, and I think they've switched the gear. Buffalo's actually running the ball pretty decent. For the last 3 games, they've rushed over 160 yards a game, and that's not been Josh Allen running for 80, 90, and the running backs running. The running backs have actually been leading the way on that. So I think they're figuring out their playoff football, but we will see. A team that would have been scary until Jimmy G got hurt. Man, the 49ers defense is ridiculous. We talked about Dallas defense in the beginning of the year. What the 49ers defense is doing now, they've given up 1 score in the second half in the past 4 games, and that was against Miami this past week on a broken play where Cheetah got bombed and got a bomb. Other than that, they shut Miami offense down and had Tua running around like he was scared.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
If they can get decent quarterback play from Mr. Purdy, they still gonna be a problem because that defense is playing. They remind me they're the closest thing to those elite defense that the Ravens had.
Pittsburgh,
Chicago, Pittsburgh, those teams where if you get 10, you lucky. So all we got to score 17, and we're gonna win most of the games. So yeah, shout out to the Vikings. Got to give them respect. They 10-2, but the Jets should have won that game. The Jets had a wide receiver drop the game-leading touchdown pass in the end zone, hit him right in his chest, and he dropped. So, but respect to the 10-2. And then what the Cowboys did, the Colts just imploded in the fourth quarter. That game was 19
trash. They trash.
21-19
more.
Going into the fourth quarter, and they scored 33. Let them score 33 points in the fourth quarter with a pick 6, and then a strip sack that they gave them the ball on the 5-yard line. Then another interception and another fumble. So I mean, the Colts imploded, but Cowboys are 9-3. They look good. For y'all Cowboy fans out there, they are a very good team, but their problem still is if they play a physical team that can run the ball, Philadelphia, San Francisco, that's going to be a matchup problem. Just being realistic.
Possibly.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And we got to give a shout out to the old man, 45-year-old Tom Brady. This man was down 16-3 with less than 5 minutes to go last night and ended up winning 17-16. Come on.
Man, how they getting in?
Man, that dude, man.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know how the Saints let, man.
Defense.
I'm just mad they're going to get a playoff spot at 6-6.
They had him in check the whole game and let him do his end of the game heroics. I couldn't believe it.
Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, whoever come out that division getting smashed, whoever win that division.
Hey, BJ, I think that the Dolphins might lose 2 weeks from now against the Bills. That's going to be a tough game because it's going to be at the Bills. But I think they beat the Chargers. The Chargers are a joke. All that talent they got, and they're just a 500 team. I think the Dolphins put it on the Chargers this week.
Chargers got to get rid of their coach, man. They'll be fine.
Yeah, what's up? Staley, yeah, they do.
Yeah, speaking of that game, there are some intriguing games this week. Unfortunately, it's another staking for Thursday night game. Amazon got to be pissed. We paid $1.1 billion for these games. I mean, they got the Raiders at the Rams. Thursday night.
The Trash Bowl is what it should be called.
Mm.
Trash Bowl.
But I mean, Sunday you got the Jets at the Bills. That's going to be a tough game for the Bills.
Yeah.
Browns at the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Can
Deshaun Watson about to get another one handed to him. Ooh.
Yeah, I think the Bengals going to put it on him, but maybe he worked out the rust in game 1 and be a little better. Vikings at Lions.
As bad as the Texans were, they gave that game away, man. They should have beaten the Browns.
I agree. Vikings at Lions, another seeky game. The Lions have won 3 games in a row.
Lions on the come up now.
and we know how the Vikings will play down to their level, so it'll be interesting. Eagles at Giants. The Giants got to win.
That's an intriguing one because
that's a win.
If the Giants lose this one, they tied with us, which makes for a very, very good Sunday night. So
prepare for them to lose. They're going to lose.
Yeah. Ravens without Lamar Jackson at the Steelers. Is there any way Mike Tomlin can figure out how to get to 9-8 with this team?
You never know. Time will tell.
Man, he knows how to do
it. You can never count out the Steelers. They'll sneak up on you.
Tampa Bay's got to go to the 49ers now. That would have been an easy game for the 49ers, but now Tampa Bay, 49ers don't have a quarterback. And Tampa Bay's got some tape on this young fella, so they can actually prepare for him.
Mr. Purdy.
And then your Monday night game is, almost a stinker. Patriots at Cardinals. So, thank goodness it's our last week for buys. The Bears, Colts, Falcons, Packers, Saints, and Washingtons are all on bye weeks. And then after this, no more bye weeks. So,
yes.
It is that time, fellas. We made it through another show. Glad you could jump on at the end, since Professor Jay. Glad you and Jalen could join us this evening doing your girl dad duties.
Yeah.
Night.
Yeah, she knocked out, looking beautiful. So let's go and get on out of here and give our final post of the evening. J3, why don't you start us?
Real quick, man. I want to say a shout out to Jay Minnie, also known as my goddaughter Justice. She is graduating on Friday. Friday. She's graduating on Friday from Jackson State University. Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, so she got to ride the prime time coattails for her 2 years there at Jackson State. So she got
just in time.
Perfect time, and now she out of there just like he is.
Jay Minnie, you should have got us an interview.
All right, Professor Jay, what you got for us?
Yeah, just asking that you guys keep my dad in your prayers, and I truly appreciate that.
Will do.
Always praying for all of y'all families, but I'll put a special prayer out for your pops and wish him a speedy recovery.
Amen.
Sense, what you got for me?
Echoing the sentiments of Professor for my cousin Brad. Prayers up for you, for safe and speedy recovery. And Professor, I know you're going to love this. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to your boy, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo, as he celebrates his 28th birthday today.
Thank you for both.
How old is he today?
28.
That's crazy. It seems like he's been in the league for 15 years.
Right.
He just hit his physical prime yet. He's literally just hitting his physical prime.
And that's
crazy. I'd like to point out something. I had a lunch date with 2 of my sisters over the weekend, and a point got brought up by one of my sisters. I would suggest to all of you, reach out to your family, your close friends, especially those who you know have lost loved ones during the holiday season. This holiday season is a very tough time, especially when you have somebody who's lost somebody right around a holiday. So just look out for them, hit them up, check on them, because the holiday seasons get sad when your loved ones are gone. I know Christmas has never been the same since my mom died, even though she died in the spring. That was her favorite holiday. So Christmas hasn't been the same since she's been gone. So look out for your family and friends. Check on them, especially those who you know have lost somebody around the holiday season, because it can be a dark, gloomy time for them. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. We're here each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our live show. We appreciate you tuning in, checking out. Thank you to all of our guests and our family members for posting comments. We appreciate that. If for some reason you can't catch the live shows, we download this show and previous shows to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. It's Positions on Sports Talk Show. Just search that. Please like and subscribe when you go there. Subscription is free. We greatly appreciate that. If you don't like that and you prefer the podcast platform, we upload our shows to the podcast. So again, Positions on Sports Talk Show. Go to your favorite podcast platform. You'll be able to find previous shows. Just takes a little while for the newest shows to catch up. Thanks to Professor Jay. He's got many other duties that he handles, including Princess Jalen. But we get you taken care of. Love to hear from you. Hit us up on Facebook at Positions on Sports, Twitter at Positions on SBO1. Again, we appreciate your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The start of the holiday season is here. Be safe. Look out for each other. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Peace.